Welcome back, everyone. The conversation is on. Femi is standing, I am sitting. There's a reason why. Yeah. All right, so this administration came on board with the 8-point agenda called the Renewed Hope Agenda. This is 1 year after. Perhaps you want to walk us through what this campaign promises were.
Yes, indeed. You know, President Bola Tinubu campaigned on this Renewed Hope Agenda. And 1 year into his administration, a lot of people are assessing the president on how well he has been able to deliver on all of these promises. 8 points Renewed Hope Agenda. And, the first of this agenda for President Bola Tinubu is food security. And if you remember that in the early days of President Bola Tinubu's administration, before he even appointed his cabinet, he declared a state of emergency on food security. That was announced by Mr. Dele Alake, who was then the SA to the president on media and communications. I know in the food security, the president and his administration has also been able to do quite a lot. You spoke with the Minister of State for Agric earlier today. He talked about the development or achievement in this food security sector to include agricultural revolution, the fertilizer initiative, extension services, the farm to table initiative, the irrigation project, which are some of the things that are very important, especially for farmers. And it has helped them do both rainy and dry season farming.
And you found that the nomenclature also changed from Ministry of Agriculture
and Food Security. Food security, yes.
And the Minister of State did mention about plans to go into farming like hydroponics, because that's the future. We can't afford to be waiting for dry season to expire before we can plant.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the coming year, perhaps we're going to see some establishment in this region.
Another important thing is the agricultural credit scheme.
Yeah.
This gives farmers access to loans. They can buy new seeds, they can buy new farming inputs, farm equipment, and all of that to mechanize the whole farming process, and also ensure that their produce or their harvest at the end of the day is it's robust, and of course they get value for their money. So this it's a very critical aspect of President Bola Tinubu's administration.
Absolutely.
It is one of the focal points of the Renewed Hope Agenda that he campaigned on, and a lot of people are beginning to assess how well the president, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, has been able to deliver on this.
Absolutely. And indeed, the challenge this year is quite big, where you consider the issue of inflation and a fallout of removing fuel subsidy, and the role the Ministry of Agriculture had to play, because Mr. President did say 100 billion out of the palliative funds should be used to get some distribution as regards food in the nation's reserve. You recall that earlier in the year, the conversation of how much money lawmakers got, the role the Ministry of Agriculture had to play in all of that. So we're looking at, when you talked about agricultural credit scheme, it's indeed powerful, it's very important. We must take a cue from what the Niger State government is doing in that regard to ensure that farmers are empowered, get mechanized as quickly as possible to be able to farm.
Let's talk about the food reserve program.
Absolutely.
You remember when there was food shortage in the country? That was about, I would say about 3-4 months ago, when the federal government had to give directive, President Tinubu had to give directive for grains to be released from the strategic reserve. The hunger was widespread in the land. We even had people, hoodlums, breaking into warehouses, stealing grains, stealing food items, intercepting bags of rice on their way from the farm, in some cases, to the warehouses. But all of that is behind us.
I raised that up with the Minister of State of Agriculture. He did mention that they gave out about 58,000 bags of rice, and the impact was that in a way was able to bring down the price of
yes,
I don't know what it is today.
I don't know what it is today, but they've been able to considerably bring down the bag of rice. Another focal point of this Renewed Hope Agenda is poverty alleviation. And you recall that even the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, that used to be the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, is now known as the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Because President Bola Tinubu believes that he says his administration is here to eradicate poverty. And the programs introduced by his administration, he believes that some of these programs, when properly implemented, will implement this poverty, economically empower people who are disadvantaged and deprived, provide them with opportunities and access to funds. These social welfare programs, we had an issue with the social register, but the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs now came to tell us that, well, they have been able to sort all of that. They have been able to capture more Nigerians in the social register so that they can directly reach out to them to provide them with small loans, credit facilities, and all of that.
It sounded strange and quite funny to hear that governors were asking for a new social register because the initial one was a product of what they all sat down and decided to use. I remember speaking with someone who talked about how much money was spent to have come up with that social register and a lot of research that went into it. But I think this is the ministry that was rocked with allegations of corruption.
Yes, indeed. And the minister, the minister had to be suspended. That investigation is still ongoing. The president directed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to look into that. And the last time we had the director of public affairs of the EFCC in TVC, he said that investigation is still ongoing as we speak. And as soon as that is concluded, a report will be presented to Mr. President.
The question has also been, how long will it take the anti-graft agency to look into this issue? And, we need some closure in that regard. And that's one thing I believe quite a number of people are looking onto this administration for.
Yes, indeed. Closure, Nigerians need that closure. And considering how poverty is a big deal in Nigeria,
absolutely,
a large population of the country are living below the poverty line. And for a ministry that is supposed to tend to the affairs of Nigerians who are poor, to be caught in that web of corruption and all of that, speaks to how corruption also has eaten deep into the fabric of the country. But for President Bola Tinubu, to order an investigation and also suspend the minister at that time, also increased the approval rating of the government, also showed the president zero tolerance for corruption. But how long that investigation will take, I think the anti-graft agencies are in the best position
to answer
that. No. Yes, and then, economic growth. This administration told us that, they inherited a bad economy. Look at where we're coming from. Even looking at the twilight of the President Muhammad Buhari's administration, that transition period, how difficult it became for Nigerians to even feed, or even to even access their money and even go to the bank, access their money and go to the market and do basic purchases. This was a huge problem, and it also affected the stats of this President Bola Tinubu administration. This was a major issue for them. They had to deal with issues of the unification of the naira, and eventually the federal government was able to inaugurate the Economic Council. This council is expected to advise President Bola Tinubu on economic issues, guide him in taking economic decisions that will be in the overall interest of Nigerians.
For me, two decisions they say, marked the Tinubu administration in the early days of his presidency. First was that statement that subsidy no longer exists, is gone, and then the unification of the exchange rate. We've seen the naira gain value and lose it over the month, and that's a bone of contention. Some have said that perhaps the CBN has to be more deliberate in its policy. Quite a number of people got excited when we saw naira gain value, but it seems that there is still more work to be done.
Yes, indeed, there's still more work to be done because that galloping forex, affects a lot of economic issues. It rubs off on the entire economy. People who, Nigeria is heavily reliant on imports. Nigeria is heavily reliant on imports, and we have to go import goods to come sell in Nigeria, and this affects the price and also raises the price in the local market. And also even some goods and services that are not imported, even the prices had to be jacked up.
Absolutely.
And Nigerians, bore the brunt of all of this. This drastically reduced the purchasing power of Nigerians. Job creation also from manufacturing the digital economy, which is doing quite well, creating jobs for all. The Minister of the Digital Economy has also been quite innovative in his approach to all of this. There's also the NATEP creation, that would also ensure that Nigerians are able to, Nigerian jobs are exportable.
We have the Minister of Trade and Investment lined up for tonight.
Yes,
she'll probably answer some
she's going to explain that. And the government is also saying that they are doing so much to reduce unemployment. This job creation is also one focal point of President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. Also, part of the Renewed Hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration, which is 1 year in office, is the equitable access to capital. This capital is both for businesses, for housing, like the CEO of FHA, the Federal Housing Authority, just told us. For farmers, also inclusive, just a whole gamut of sector to ensure that they all have access to capital and, even capital market access and development resources and the non-aligned movement. These are some of the key points in the...
they said that they've been able to get about $30 billion.
Yes, $30 billion foreign direct investment.
One of the questions I'm looking forward to ask the minister tonight is, what's the difference between commitment and actual investment? And what's the distance, that this administration has between... Because we saw Mr. President take a lot of foreign trips in his first 100 days in office. And we're beginning to ask the question, how much impact has that brought?
Well, we have even seen actual investment, the lithium battery plant in Nasarawa State. We have seen some kind of commitment. We have seen some investors actually come on ground and begin to set up in real time. And this has also had a multiplier effect in terms of creating jobs and improving the local economy. But the Nigerians are asking for more of that, because what we have now is still like a drop of water in an ocean. Also, inclusivity is one important thing for President Bola Tinubu's administration. He's been able to empower women. And if you also look at his cabinet, if you look at the demography of his cabinet, he's been able to bring on more women, have more female representation in his cabinet.
The women are asking more. I don't think I don't think we're doing well enough.
But they still want
Rwanda
more,
has achieved about 50% gender inclusion on the cabinet, and elective positions.
Yes.
So, the president is known to empower young, and so
we also had the Ministry of Youth was also separated from the Ministry of Sport and Youth Development. So we now have the Ministry of Youth saddled with supervising or ensuring the welfare of youth in Nigeria in terms of access to job, access to finance, and all other issues that affect young people in Nigeria, and also economic inclusion to ensure that no sector, no demographic part of the country is excluded from economic development and all of that. And also the social protection. We have seen bills and executive orders signed by President Bola Tinubu to engender inclusion. Also, the rule of law. This is quite huge. President Bola Tinubu has also been talking about the rule of law, ensuring that his administration adheres strictly to the rule of law. We have also seen court orders have been respected by President Bola Tinubu's administration.
Though, as at today, I think, was it today or yesterday, the Chief Justice of Nigeria summoned
summoned two judges from Kano State.
Conflicting orders.
Yes, indeed. That again is a problem. That is troubling. But thankfully, we are having the Attorney General of the Federation step up to the plate. In the past, we see this kind of issues happen, and they are just allowed to slide. But it's a good thing that we're seeing him step up. So it's showing that political will to sanitize the process.
Indeed. Well, fantastic analysis, Femi. Thank you for reminding us all of the things Mr. President talked about 2023, and I'm sure this is one thing that Nigerians will be counting on and watching how far is gone.